Recently, we had the Intensity Ladder Grand Finals between Ice Power and Mofet. It was a wild, a crazy best of five. I highly recommend you check it out. It was some of the best games we've seen maybe since the Warhammer World Cup. It was so nuts, and this game in particular got a lot of hype, so I thought I would cast it individually on the channel. So we have a Beast of Mirror, usually boring. Usually terrible content. This was wild. Ice Power is here on the green side. We have Gorbel, Torox, Gorgon, Bear Shaman of Wilds with Traderkin, bunch of Ungor Spears, some Centaurs, 2 Centaurs with throwing axes, and that's about it. For Mofet, on the red, Harpies, Centaurs, Traderkin caster as well, a Manticore, Gorbel, Torox, Brass Bull, bunch of Ungor Spearmen, Ungor Spearmen and Ungor herds mixed, some throwing axes. Cool. I typically like the green build better. I really like the Gorgon for the big single entity fights. He's much better than a Manticore, though he is more expensive, so I'll have to be careful about that. A little bit of jockeying position between the two players, just trying to figure out. Ice doesn't want to fight Mofet while he's getting a downhill charge, and Mofet needs to fulfill the attacking role. So Ice is kind of kiting about a bit, just buying time. He's going to get off a nice little Overcast Shaderkin onto both throwing axe units of Mofet, doing good damage to both of them. Then his single entity core is going to run away, as Gorgon takes a lot of throwing axes in the back. Ice clearly wants a single entity fight. He has much more money invested in it, and he has better units for that. Mofet has much more mobile assets and chaff units. Strangely enough, Mofet is going to take the single entity fight right away. And while I disagree with this, I understand the idea because he does have throwing axes nearby. He's going to try to support the fight. Immediately, though, the red chaff routes off, leaving just Torox and the Gorbel to fight all these big single entities, and Torox is going to take a big old beating for it. Now, these throwing axes are getting their work in on the Gorgon, actually, and it looks like Gorbel plus Torox will get good damage on him before Ice's hero core runs away. On the side, Mofet charges in with all of his mobility assets, routes off one of Ice's Manticores, yes. Centaurs already, and the Grogcubs of Wolf's Run will try and bail them out while the other Centaurs keep fighting for a while. Something happens over here that I missed in the live cast. It looks like somehow Spearmen get mixed up in the Centaur fight, which will mean Mofet will lose that one on the far side. Now, these Centaurs with throwing axes have still been absolutely working on this Gorgon, and also Torox and the Gorbel are somehow trading up, even though they're heavily outnumbered by better units. The Mofet's Torox is still taking a lot of damage. Excuse me. Wilds Caster gets beat up by Mofet's Manticore and his Wilds Caster, and meanwhile the Centaur Blob is going okay for Mofet over here. On this side, it went extremely well for Ice, mostly because of his Ungor Spearman shaft that was nearby. Finally, Mofet's Gorbel is breaking. His Torox is running away at about half health, and Ice's single entities are much healthier. The Gorgon is a little low, but it can regen while in melee combat. Ice set on the balance of power, I tend to agree. As for Mofet, he ran into a difficult spot in this game, and I'm actually curious to watch it in a replay format. Whereas units get all split up. You see there's this chaff routing off this way. That's going to get chased down by Centaurs. His Gorbel is routing off this way, going to get chased. His Torox and throwing axes were forced this way. And then he has a pocket of strength back here that's doing all right. But he somehow needs to rally. I know I just drew a bunch of arrows. But my main point is he has assets going this way, and this way. He somehow has to recongeal them all and get back together. Somehow. Ice, meanwhile, is losing this fight. And he's heavily winning over here. And his goal is to try and make sure none of these units cross that blue line. What she is trying to do, but the Centaurs of throwing axes, who are almost out of throwing axes, will actually cross over there. Cool. Gorbel manages to rally, runs over to fight Ice's Gorbel, and it looks like he wins the charge fight, getting a good solid hit onto Ice's Gorbel on his way out the door. He actually gets another hit in, too. So he got 2 big hits in while routing off. It's kind of nuts. Mofet cleaning up the far side. Ice's caster is gone. His chaff is dying. Mofet's killed everything over there, and now Ice's Centaurs are getting caught out by enemy Torox, and Centaurs are throwing axes who are out of ammo. Ice is reforming his Single entity blob with some chaff. Mofet's getting his army together. Quite nicely, I might add. And he kites away with Torox for a little bit. There's a lot of regrouping and conjiggering, so I just fast-forwarded through that brief period. And now we're down to the late-game state. Mofet, a lot of chaff and a caster. Full health Manticore, half health Torox versus Ice's limited chaff, but Gorgon, Gorbol, and quite healthy Torox. Bounce power's back to dead even. There will be a little bit of throwing X kiting. We're going to go at ×2 speed. Just a little bit of kiting. Mofet's reconfiguring, also throwing X's at him. Ice is dodging as best he can, charging back and forth. Forming back into a blob. Then some Ungor Spearman Herd get charged a little bit, but the throwing X's. Brace Scream hits this guy. Good for them. Mofet's closing in. But a big catch here for Ice Power. Gets on the Brace Shaman of Wilds, and the Harpies try to charge in, but Torox gets a nasty, nasty charge onto them, doing a lot of damage, bringing the Manticore down. The Manticore rampages, meaning it can't leave this combat. No matter how broken they are, Manticores don't just leave combat while rampaging. So Torox and the Centaurs will surround it, beat the absolute crap out of it, and Mofet loses Harpies, he loses his Manticore, and he routes off an Ungor Spearman Herd. This is a big, big win for Ice Power at this point in the game. Mofet doing his best to get any value he can back in this game. Charges these Ungor Spearman Herd that are a little caught out with his Harpies and Centaurs to block them while Torox comes in from behind, so he will get something for this trade, though it is definitely in Ice Power's favor. Another nice Brace Cream takes out more Spearmen. So it's a trade of a full health Manticore and a little bit of chaff for about half of Ice's chaff that was left, maybe 2/3. It's a decent trade. Like, Mofet did the best he could in a bad situation, but that was a bad situation for him. Now, Torox and the Centaurs are going to pull back a little bit. Harpies are still fighting these Ungor Spearmen. They're trying to chase off these routing units while not taking any additional damage. Ice Power sees this, knows he can't chase them down, and instead he's going to focus on routing off these units he can before they can regroup. Get a nice charge here, route them, shatter them, make sure they never come back. Okay, another holding pattern where these throwing axes are going to kite for a while, and these Centaurs will run off the Spearmen to fill the attacking role. That's totally fine. Ice is trying to catch this low-hanging fruit of the Ungor Herd, route them off before the rest of the army shows up, but he can't quite catch them, and then Centaurs commit to the fight. Rear charge takes out some Ungor Spearmen. Ice is down to 1 chaff unit and 3 single entities. Harpies are also piling in. They've got to be close to shattering. And Torox and the Gorbel both try to charge Mofet's Torox and miss their attacks. Manticore lands in from behind, takes a nasty hit from Gorbel, and a follow-up one from the Gorgon, instantly dying. Brace Shaman of Wilds is in here, takes a nasty hit from the Gorgon, takes another hit from Torox and the Gorgon. He also dies. Things are going badly for Mofet, but Mofet charges in, hits the Gorgon, does a lot of damage there. Ice's Torox charges the other Torox. He's getting very low. Balance power shifting slightly into Ice's favor just because of how healthy his Torox is in comparison to everything else on this map. Gorgon gets away from the pileup. The Centaurs throwing X's might have wanted to chase him off, but he does get away. And Mofet's going to send his Torox after him, it appears. That Gorgon is going to rally. And now it's Torox versus Gorgon. Gorgon has 68 melee attack. No, wait, 65 with a big bonus for large on his weapon strength. He's going to try to charge Torox, but Torox ends up getting the superior charge animation, doesn't take any damage, takes out the Gorgon. It is now down to a Gorbel and Torox versus some very, very haggard Beastman Chaff and an almost dead Torox. Gorbel, getting very low in leadership, is going to try and fight Torox for a moment, but Torox runs away at the last second, leaving the Gorbel just to rout on his own. But he's not the only thing routing. Mofet loses about half of his chaff due to random breaks, and this is Torox against Centaurs with throwing axes who no longer have throwing axes, some Ungor Spearmen who are about to rout, and a very dead Torox. Ice is ahead on the balance of power. He has an Ungor Spearman herd coming. Okay. So Mofet charges in with Torox. Ice's Torox loses the charge, then gets staggered, and gets staggered again before he finally swings back. And when he swings back, he misses. Mofet ain't missing. Mofet's hitting everything. Ice's Torox still hasn't hit. He's missed a lot of attacks. There, he finally gets a good shot in, takes Mofet down to 294. But he's losing this combat quite badly. Then he gets staggered, turns around, and starts attacking randoms or gets pushed. I don't know. He's had a terrible time with this RNG. Finally, the other Torox runs away at 294 health, barely hanging on in the leadership game, but he got a huge, huge trade there onto Ice. Ice is still ahead on the balance of power. Gorbel is even rallying, and Torox running away from Torox. They need to get the charge off now, but other Torox is thinking about it because he's going to run away. And he gets the charge in. Ice didn't do damage to him. He did damage to Ice. Crap. It hasn't hit him. Then the other Torox walks past him. Ice's Torox hits some Centaurs. That Torox gets another hit onto Ice's, but his leadership breaks, and he hits Ice's Torox again, and he still breaks. All he did was hit. He took no damage, but for some reason, he just decided, enough is enough, I'm leaving. Ice's Torox also breaks. Bounce power is heavily in the favor of Mofet. This Gorbel rallying... Yes, this Gorbel rallying with 4 leadership is the only thing that stopped this from actually being a game lost. And all the routing units here rout and shatter off the chaff. The 2 units on this map that are still here is this Ungor Spearman Herd and this Gorbel. Now, Ice's Torox can't rally as long as these Ungors are here. But Ungor Spearman Herds, I didn't notice this during the game, I just know what happened in a second, but I called it wrong during the game. They have stalk. And a routing unit can't see stalking units. So as soon as the Centaurs get out of range, they stalk and Torox rallies because he didn't know he was being followed. So the stalk actually hurt the Ungor Spearman. Now, this Torox is trying to chase off the other Torox, but the Centaurs of Mofet know they have to do something. They were at 0 leadership for a second. They charge downhill into Torox, and Ice knows he has to take that fight, otherwise he just takes a bunch of free damage. He will stop. He will fight the Centaurs. This allows Mofet's Torox to rally. He has 4 leadership. He has 294 health. He does have brass body. Ice doesn't have brass body. Ice is turning to fight. His Torox is still fighting. He's finally going to get another charge attack. He needs to hit this. He wins the charge attack for once in his life. This whole game has been hating on Ice's Torox's RNG. Mofet's is down to 52 health. Somehow his leadership is better than ever. Well, he's dipped to 1 for a second there. He's down to 52 health. He hits Ice's Torox. Ice's Torox is about to break. Then he hits him again and kills him with 52 goddamn health. And the game is over. It was wild. It was nuts. Mofet brings the series back to 2-2. Now, looking at the values, yada yada values. Yeah. The single entities did great. Centaurs did fine. It was a wild game. It was a wild game. Centaurs throwing X did great for Mofet. Yeah, you saw the values. Now let me show you what you missed if you didn't see the live stream. This Torox, but he's leaving the fight. Turning his back on his opponent will lower his leadership. He might actually just break. Gorbel's coming back. Torox is trying to push his way out of all these guys, but their leadership's all wavering. This Torox is coming back for one last charge. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. It's laggy as shit. Torox is both headbutting to each other, but Mofet's Torox wins the headbutt battle. Torox of Ice Power is back into the blob, and the other Torox hasn't taken damage in like 55 years. If Ice hits him one time, this game is over, but he just can't. His Torox is too incompetent. He gets hit in the back. He's about to break. He turns around. He breaks the other Torox without even hitting him. That Torox just breaks on his own, and Ice is going to lose. His Torox is routing. All the other Beastmen are routing around the routing Torox. If that Gorbel breaks, this game is over 100%. As everything's breaking. How did this Torox break? He didn't take damage for like a year and a half. How did you break, you idiot? You fool. These Ungor Spearmen are trying to chase down Ice's Torox, but Ice's Torox will mega outrun them. This Gorbel has to attack according to the attacking rules, but he doesn't want to get anywhere closer. And Torox rallies right in front of the Ungor Spearmen. What the fuck? And he's back. He's chasing down the Centaurs. He's chasing down the other Torox. What is happening? What the fuck is this game? What is this? How did he rally? He's gonna get sidecharged by Centaurs. He honestly might break from that. Centaurs do a strangely high amount of damage. Other Torox is getting far enough away that he's gonna rally too. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Torox's fight. This time, Ice Power's gotta win the charge. RNG has not been his friend. RNG really wants a game 5. We are not disconnecting right now. There's 5 units on the map. Your fucking internet can hold up. We're still here. We're still here. Torox is going to get a rear charge on Ice Power's Torox. He needs to turn around. Turn. He gets the charge. He does damage for the first time in his life. Ice Power is going to win. No way that other Torox holds on with 52 fucking health. He clubs him in the back. What? No, you have 52 health. Break. What are you doing? What the fuck? No! No way. No way that just happened. That's the most bullshit thing I've seen in my entire life! You gotta catch the live streams. You gotta catch the live streams. Come on. Come on. You gotta be there for the Winter Grand Finals, the best of five since the Warhammer World Cup, and a bunch of bullshit's happening. The game after it was popping in all the weirdest ways. The games before it were popping. It was good stuff. Join the live stream. Come on. Get the good content. Alright. That game deserved a second cast, so thanks for sticking around. Goodbye.